You know Gray Bar for electrical parts, but there's one more thing you may not be thinking of us for that can help maximize your next project's total value. Our pre-project planning services are designed to help you win the bid, save on labor costs, and keep your installers productive across your entire build. The sooner you call us, the better. Because when we're there from the beginning, we can anticipate your needs and help you solve problems before they become problems. Yep, Gray Bar does that.
A jam-packed edition of the Show Before the Show podcast arrives to you on this insert day that you're listening here. Hi, I'm Tyler Mon. Sam Dykstra in New York City. Hello, Sam.
Hello, it's Tyler. I feel like I should be upset at you right now just because the way things played out this week.
Because I won?
See, this is why I said
my team wins?
I feel like I should be. Now I am. Now that it's just transitioned just like that from should be to absolutely am upset with you.
You know, I don't blame you. I too would be upset if my team was unable to come through in the clutch like yours. But mine did. My guys, I gotta give all the credit. My little digital men, they came through and we needed them most, and for that we are winners. And if you did not listen to the podcast last week or didn't check the site, you have no idea what we're talking about. And we're going to leave it that way. No, we're not. So last week on the show, as we welcome you into this week's episode of the Show Before the Show from MLB.com, the official site of minor league baseball, Sam and I drafted two prospect dream teams that we squared off against each other in a simulated game on MLB The Show 20. Sam actually simmed that game on Friday night, recorded it on Monday. Sam and I watched it and broadcast the game together, and we debuted it, rolled it out on YouTube yesterday. It is up on the site. If you go to MLB.com/podcast, it is up there on the site. You can click through to the video on YouTube, or you can watch it right there embedded in our page on the MILB.com site. And my team, the Hartford Yard Goats, squaring off against Sam's selected Rocket City Trash Pandas. Yard Goats jumped out to an early lead, 3-0, held on 3-2, got the win. Great start from Mackenzie Gore. Nick Madrigal coming through, a solo homer that ended up being the difference. Sisto Sanchez picks up the save. Great work out of the bullpen from Matt Manning. Just really a very consistent, strong performance by my guys. And I expected nothing less of them, I got to say. I'm very proud.
I know. The funny thing is, very quickly, you were taking credit for your team and blaming me for my team, especially the moves that my manager had made, which is nothing. Like, I will say I am upset about my manager for being down 3-2 and not pinch hitting anybody whatsoever, like not trying to make any moves to try to pull it out, just trusting the 9 guys, because we drafted last week our starting lineup.
Is what you're saying.
I'm not a second guesser.
You're just making moves to make moves.
I'm like an opposite Bill Parcells right now. Bill Parcells complained about cooking but not being able to choose the groceries. Like, I chose the groceries. Now I wanted to make the meal, and I was not allowed to do that. And that's very frustrating. Had I been allowed to make the moves I wanted to make, it would have been at least 3-2 the other way, maybe even more. But no, I mean, it was really fun to see that environment play out. Again, I will highlight what I said at the end of the broadcast, which was I got first overall pick. I allowed Tyler to get home field advantage at the porch in that game. Yep. I think that may have made a difference.
Swung the tide. Those Hartford fans. Those fans at the porch, wherever they are.
Wherever that indeterminate industrial city is that the porch is.
It's we can't thank our fans enough for being there for us in a big spot. Just so proud of our guys. Just trying to take it one day at a time, stay humble. I know it's early, but we got a lot of confidence from a game like that. Mackenzie goes out there and gives you what you need in a starting role, and to be able to go to somebody like Matt Manning out of the bullpen, that just keeps you lifted from a start like that. And you get it to Sanchez in the 9th with the lead, and I mean, you saw what he did that 1-2-3 inning. It's we're going to be a force. This team, we are a force to contend with.
We'll have to plan out exactly how we're going to make this work. If we want these teams to be like a best of 7
series, are we going to draft different teams? Yeah.
If you guys have
we're spitballing
things you want to see,
around. Yeah, and if you right, exactly. If you've got ideas, send them our way. Podcast@MILB.com. You can get in touch with both of us on Twitter. Sam's at Sam Dykstra MILB. I'm at Tyler Vaughn. And yeah, we'd love to kick around some different ideas of more games if you were into it. We got really good feedback. I know I got a text from one of my oldest friends who I went to high school with, who he's one of those people who's like on Twitter, but he's not really on Twitter. I'm assuming that's where he saw that we were going to be doing this game, because I did not tell him. But he texted me last night and said, man, it's really great to hear you doing a game. I just really wish it was a real one, which I think is, when we watch any broadcasters, Don Orsillo and Mark Grant did a simulated game on the show for the Padres, and I just thought to myself how great it would be to be listening to them do a real game. But it was fun. We got really good feedback from people. You'll hear from Josh Jackson coming up here in a little bit. Josh got a chance to watch and tune in. We had a lot of fun with it, and hopefully we'll get to do it a little bit more.
One of my favorite things about it, beyond just working with you and working a game with you, because we've never done that before. Yeah. That was new for us. But one of my favorite things about it was just talking about players as things were happening. So much of the offseason and so much of our time in quarantine now is talking about the potential of players, what they could do. And yeah, it's a simulation, and yeah, it's a video game. And like I said on the show itself, there are a series of zeros and ones at the end of the day, but it's still nice to talk about these guys more than just potential. Watch them put their skills on display in a video game based on ratings that are based on real life, and being surprised at the same time. Nick Madrigal hitting that home run. We talked a ton on the broadcast about how he's a contact first guy, not a power guy. Hey, he's the guy who hit the home run that made the difference in the game. That's kind of fun to be surprised in that way. That's one of the great things I miss about baseball, is being surprised, thinking you know everything, and then having the game tell you something different, and you can learn from it and grow from it. We're not necessarily going to learn something from MLB The Show 20. This is purely for fun, but it's just nice to talk about the game in that way again and be involved in that way, and hopefully bringing that to you guys in 80-minute chunks. This is just the start of that, and hopefully we can continue to do more of it here in the weeks to come.
It's nice to talk about it, especially when you win, and congratulations to my guys for pulling it out. Just couldn't be prouder. Couldn't be prouder, Sam.
I know. I can see your smile through the microphone. That's not even physically possible, but I can feel it in my heart, and I'm just happy for you. That's
Thanks,
what
buddy. I appreciate it.
I'm happy for you.
One thing that is actually very fun is that one of those very guys will be joining us on the show coming up here in just a little bit. The 8th-ranked prospect in the Houston Astros organization, catcher Korey Lee. 32nd overall draft selection last year out of Cal. Korey Lee's going to be joining the real one. The real one's going to join the show, not like an interview of the character on the game. The real Korey Lee will be joining us coming up here in a little bit. And a lot more to come as well. We got Benjamin Hill. We'll hear from Josh Jackson, and a big jam-packed edition of the show before the show this week. Minor League Baseball and Feeding America have teamed up to raise funds for local food banks and to honor those risking their lives on the front lines of the COVID-19 pandemic. For every $10 donated to Feeding America, a minor league baseball team will donate one ticket to a local hero. Join us in making a difference in our local communities by visiting MILB.com/community first to donate today. And with that, Korey Lee, the Houston Astros, next on this week's episode of the Show Before the Show. Our player conversation on this week's episode of the Show Before the Show is last year's first-round draft selection of the Houston Astros, 32nd overall, catcher Korey Lee, who joins us from back home in California. Korey, obviously a very weird spring, but how you been doing with everything the last month and a half?
I've been trying to stay busy. It's a big process. Everything's kind of new to us, and being at home for the past, 6 months has just kind of been eye-opening, just because I haven't been home since high school for so long, just going to college and just kind of being up there for the holidays and throughout the season. So being back home is just kind of finding a new routine, and that's kind of what I've been learning right now.
We've talked to a handful of guys, over the last few weeks, and have kind of gotten the feel of what it was like for you guys when the news came down that baseball operations are going to be suspended and spring training obviously was put on hold. Tell us about that story from your point of view. You told us before we started recording you got down to West Palm Beach a few days before you guys were mandated to report for the start of spring training, but then weren't there for that long. How did it all go down in Astros camp?
So I was there for about 5 days. It was just pitchers and catchers, we were just going through the motions, just like a normal strength training. Everything was kind of new to me just because it was my first one. So I was still trying to learn the ropes and kind of get my feet wet. So overall, I really didn't really know what I was doing. But in the 5 days, I learned a lot, talked to all the coordinators, talked to all the coaches. And when the news came out saying that we were going to come home, it was kind of eye-opening. And we never really thought it was going to happen. So the rumors kind of it was a weird feeling just because we all got there and we were all looking forward to the season. We were all looking forward to what we were doing at spring training. But when this kind of came along, it was like a little foot in the door. But I think everyone's kind of handling it the right way right now. Everyone's kind of getting their stuff done when they're at home. I know it's not the most ideal situation, but I feel like everyone's kind of making the most out of it right now.
And in those 5 days, like you said, when you're touching with so many coordinators that you haven't gotten to work with directly yet as a first-round pick, as this being your first spring training, what was your takeaway? What did they give you that you are carrying now into your homework?
Just being a sponge, literally making or listening to everything that everyone has to say. I mean, baseball is it's the biggest sport in the world, I think, and there's so many different perspectives on the sport. So just kind of picking apart other people's brain and kind of learning the ropes of professional baseball, just because it's obvious in this entire process. So just kind of picking at everyone's brain that's been there, even new guys. I mean, they're in the same boat as I am. So as much help as I can get, and as much help that I can provide for the other players too, is kind of where my mindset is at.
And now that you are in your homework, I find it interesting talking to catchers now, because catchers normally have to work with pitchers and they work with hitters trying to work on multiple aspects of their game. You can't work directly with pitchers right now, but how much are you in touch with the Astros in terms of trying to learn who you could be catching eventually, maybe at Quad Cities, maybe at Class A Advanced? How are you keeping in touch on that side and working on the catching part of your game?
Yeah, growing up, I've always been attracted to pitchers. They've always kind of been my guy that I always go to no matter who they are. So that's kind of a relationship and kind of a personal thing that I've always carried, is a pretty good relationship with all my pitchers and kind of picking their brain on and off the field. So keeping in touch with all the guys that I've really kind of grown up with this last year in professional baseball, whether that's FaceTime, text, call, whatever. It's kind of building more of a relationship with them rather than kind of on the baseball side of things.
Korey, last year you make the big jump in your final season at Cal and jump into the first round in the 2019 draft, and all of a sudden you're in pro ball, and that slog from the start of the college baseball season, basically in January when you really get going 100%, all the way through the end of your first professional season is so long. When you look back on the calendar year of 2019 and just how different life was at the end of it versus at the beginning, what stands out most to you about last year?
The change in mindset that I really had coming into junior year. Freshman and sophomore year, I didn't really play a lot, didn't really have an opportunity what I had on the field. And then once junior year happened, and it was kind of my time to show what I had, and I got that opportunity. And I think the way that I thought about it before I started kind of playing was just kind of hesitant. And now I'm not leaving anything out on the field. So I'm just kind of going with that same mentality, because that's got me to where I am. And like I said before, I'm still learning how to be a professional. I'm still learning this entire game. Everyone is. No one knows it full. So that's kind of the approach I'm taking at it right now.
On the offensive side in college for your last year, like you said, you didn't get to play regularly your freshman and sophomore years, but last year offensive numbers blow up. What was the biggest key to that? Was it the fact that you were in the lineup every day, and obviously, hitting behind Andrew Vaughn doesn't hurt? What was the key to your junior year being so good offensively?
Just sticking to my plan, knowing what I can do with everything. I mean, it was a lot of time of studying my swing, studying other pitchers, studying what they're going to do to me, and just knowing that in the back of my mind, and just honestly keeping it as simple as possible, not overthinking anything, playing the game, trusting what I've done is going to help me in the game at that time when it comes. So just going with that, honestly, just keeping everything as simple as possible and not really thinking too much.
And I know the Astros, one of the reasons why they took you in the first round was because of your power potential. You jumped from 5 homers, excuse me, as a sophomore to 15 as a junior. What allowed your power to specifically take that jump? When you talk about focusing on the swing, I'm sure that's part of it, but how much of it was the power that led into the draft that helped you go as a first rounder?
I think the power kind of came with, honestly, like what I said before, just staying calm and just letting my body just kind of overtake my swing. And it kind of grew in my body from sophomore year to junior year, and that's kind of where the power came from. So not really trying to force my swing to be as powerful and just kind of letting my body just kind of take over and let that happen.
And what were your expectations going into the draft? I know public-facing rankings aren't everything, and I don't know how much you were paying attention to that, but MLB had you ranked 119th. Baseball America had you at 173. You ended up going to the first round to the Astros. All it takes is one team to like you. But what were your expectations, and how much did you know that the Astros liked you going in?
I had no expectations at all going into the year. Throughout the year, I didn't look at any of the draft. I didn't look at who was looking at me. I didn't look in the stands. It was kind of what I went through all of junior year. Everything I looked forward to was just what I was doing. And honestly, going into the draft, I had no idea that was going to happen. I had no idea that the Astros were going to pick me. I didn't know where I was going to get picked. So everything was a whirlwind of a surprise. And honestly, I think that's kind of what got me to where I'm at today, is just not really thinking about anything and just kind of letting everything overtake itself and just kind of paving its own path.
Korey, how about on the defensive side? As a freshman and sophomore, you play some of the corner infield spots, you DH, you catch, and then junior year, it's being a catcher full-time, being in the lineup every day, and then jumping into pro ball and having the Astros be so confident in you as a catcher. Obviously your skill set lends you to being able to do a lot of different things, but how has it been getting to focus on just being that one guy and, defensively, like you said, you gravitate toward that position anyway, now getting to do that professionally?
It's unbelievable. I mean, like you said, freshman and sophomore year was kind of my time to learn and kind of pick apart the game. And then junior year, I got my time to kind of go show what I've learned this entire time. And going on from here on out, it's the same approach. You just have to be a sponge. You have to soak up everything everyone's kind of telling you, and just keep playing your game and not trying to fall into the trap of trying to play someone else's. Just control what you can control and just keep playing with that.
Being a professional catcher is so different in so many ways from what you do in the college game. What struck you when you first got to Tri-City last year, and you're under the lights and you're working with a staff of guys that are all getting paid to do this now like you? What was the biggest difference from the catching standpoint as a professional versus what you did in college?
I think our coach at Cal, Mike New, he was a professional pitcher for the A's, and picking apart his brain in college really helped me make the transition into college or into professional baseball as a catcher, because talking to him, he kind of let me kind of do my own thing, whether that's calling pitches, calling defensive plays in college. So that really got me ready for what I was going to be doing for years to come and for years to keep coming right now. So thanks to him, honestly, he paved a really, really good path for me and kind of taught me some things that I don't think a lot of people know in college. So that kind of put our program into a special category that I think that not a lot of people know about.
And on the flip side of that, when you did enter pro ball, you go from working in the Cal system to the Astros system. What is something new that the Astros were working on with you last summer with Tri-City, or entering this first offseason for you, going into first spring training? What are some new aspects of your game that you've tinkered with or tweaked because of Houston's suggestions?
I think it's just learning how to be a athlete. I think they've taught me on and off the field how to kind of approach what life's going to be right now. Because in college, you're going to school, you're doing all these things with school, but now you have kind of a free open range to just play baseball. So I think it's more than just the baseball aspect that they're teaching me right now. I think it's more of becoming what I'm going to be and what I want my career to be. So I think that's the main thing that they've been kind of ragging on me and trying to teach me to be a better person and be a better athlete.
And one thing we got to ask, speaking of a Cal Astros connection here, you got to play at Cal with Darren Baker. You are now in the Astros system. We're obviously a crazy offseason, but now Dusty Baker is the major league manager. I know you were only there for a little bit of time at spring training, but you had a picture with the older Baker on your Twitter page. What is it like playing in that system for, like a good friend of yours dad now?
He's a one-of-a-kind guy. Dusty is a guy that you can kind of go and talk to about whatever that's on your mind, and he's going to shoot it straight to you. He's got me through all of junior year, I think, on and off the field. Like I said, being close friends with Darren has helped me kind of learn the game because he's been around the game his entire life, and having a dad like Dusty is a one-of-a-kind opportunity. So whatever I had to talk to Darren about, whatever I could talk to Dusty about, was just up like a sponge, like I've been saying. And I think he's gotten me to the point where I am today, and having him on our side in our organization, I think is the best thing possible for what we have going right now.
Korey, we got a couple of fun ones for you that we're going to end on. First,
right.
I gotta ask you about you went to Vista High School in Vista, California, which is in the Avocado League, which I could not possibly love more. But you played 3 years of water polo there, and you guys won a league championship. If there was an equivalent professional water polo circuit, the way there is Major League and Minor League Baseball, which would you have had the brighter future in? Could you have been a pro water polo guy if that existed in the same way baseball does? What was your water polo profile as a young star?
Water polo, that was probably I don't know how to kind of explain that. That was a one-day type of thing. I had a friend in middle school, and he was just like, "Dude, like, what are you doing after school? If you want to come to play water polo?" And I had no idea what I was getting myself into. So I started my 7th grade year and then played up until junior year. And I think it was something for me just to kind of get away from baseball and kind of just play another sport as a kid, because I think if you get soaked up in baseball so much, it's going to spit you out and treat you terrible. So you have to treat it right and kind of give it some time away. So I think water polo is a good kind of get away of my mind of baseball. And obviously it got me in an incredible shape. I think that's kind of what got my arm to where it's at today also. So it was a fun little experience, and everyone still talks about it. They've never really seen a baseball / water polo player before, so kind of interesting.
That's a really good point about your arm too. I had not really thought about that, but water polo, it's not as though you can use your legs and your lower body to help. You're only winging something with. I had never really thought about that.
Yeah, exactly. The swimming, it's a stretch. It makes you stronger than. It makes you know that you have muscles in places that you don't even know, honestly.
That's what I've always heard about water. I hadn't heard about the arm thing, but the muscles, things hurting that you didn't know existed is part I've heard. All right, so this is what I'm going to end on, Korey. How much do you play MLB The Show? This is how I'm going to start this. Do you play the video game?
I do. I've never really played video games before this whole quarantine happened, and then me being the person I am needs to be doing something at all times. So playing video games has kind of been a new hobby for me.
So how much do you play as yourself now that you're in the game?
I got to be honest. I've played with myself a couple times, and it's kind of a eye-opening thing. It's kind of weird to just see yourself on a TV and all the stats coming up.
Well, that's one reason why.
Like, oh, this is kind of weird.
Yeah, that's one reason why we wanted to talk to you this week, is because I don't know if you follow MILB or whatever, but we did a MLB The Show simulation using prospects, and your ratings are so good in the game that we included you in the game. I drafted you as my catcher. Tyler had Adley Rutschman, so we had 2 first-round picks as our catcher. But you're consistently like the top prospect in MLB The Show. What is it like just seeing ratings for yourself and seeing yourself judged as a video game character in that way?
I mean, it's at the end of the day, I mean, it's obviously an honor to hear that and kind of know that, but at the same time, I'm trying to play my game. I'm doing that. kind of what I want people to kind of see me as, is just I'm a baseball player. That's what I get to do for my living, and that's what I love to do. So it's obviously it's cool to kind of walk around. I go to these that are hitting, they're like, oh my gosh, like you're the guy that's in the video game, and it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to hear that stuff. But at the end of the day, it's just me doing what I love, and it's just me being a baseball player, honestly.
All right, well, I'll ask you this one because this is the one that stood out to me when I was looking at your page. You are a 76 speed, and no offense, you are a catcher, and scouting reports I've read are you are a good runner for a catcher, but are you really 76 speed? Do you think you could live up to that?
I think I am, honestly. I think people kind of underestimate my speed. I was actually talking to my girlfriend the other day that I think I got a little bit faster this entire off season. So there might be a couple surprise stolen bags this year. I don't know.
There you go. Well, that leads me to my final one, which is on a more human level. As Astros fans get to know you better here, entering what we hope is your first full season at some point, what do you want them to know about you as the human being and not just a video game player?
I'm a guy that's just kind of not taking anything for granted, whether that's in life, whether that's in baseball. I'm kind of leaving it all out, and whatever I have, that's what I'm going to give. So if people want to see that as kind of a hard worker or anything, I want people to kind of just know that I'm not going to take anything for granted in life and baseball, because what you give in life and what you give to baseball is good. So just trusting that and keep on going with that is what I've always told myself, and just being all that I can be.
8th-ranked Houston prospect Korey Lee, who spent last season with Class A short season Tri-City, and this year hopefully we'll see you on a field somewhere in the Class A and Class A Advanced and beyond ranks. And Korey, thanks so much for the time, man, and best of luck staying healthy and occupied at home, and we'll hopefully be watching you on a field here sometime soon.
Thank you, guys.
As an official partner of Minor League Baseball, Nationwide is here from life's first pitch to the 7th inning stretch. Whether you're looking for protection for your house, car, pet, or small business, Nationwide offers a wide range of products and support to make sure you're getting the right coverage for your specific needs. Visit nationwide.com for more information on how we can help take care of what you have today and plan for what's ahead. Nationwide is on your side.
Nationwide Mutual Insurance Company, Columbus, Ohio.
Got another fun topic with our good pal Benjamin Hill, who joins the show this week. We've been discussing for the last few weeks various stories like this on MILB.com, and we got a cool one that Ben put together that we will talk about here in a moment. Ben, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing all right. As has been the case, I've been in my bedroom. It's also my office, so I talk to you guys from my bedroom. Right now I'm looking out the window, and there's some people in a backyard of a neighboring home setting up a birthday party. It's very sweet. I assume it's just immediate family, but they're blowing up balloons. They've got some music going on, big happy birthday signs. And, the weather's a little cold and windy, but they're making it work. And it seems to me like a very poignant scene out there.
That's fun. And very well described in a literary sense, which leads us perfectly into our topic of discussion today. Over the last few weeks on the site, we have been writing up stories on movies and TV shows and documentaries that spotlight the minor leagues. And this week, Ben's got a story that went up on the site yesterday. We're recording this on Wednesday the 29th on some of the best minor league books in existence right now. 10 titles that Ben recommends to check out while waiting on the 2020 season. I am embarrassed to admit that I have not read a single one of them, which is pathetic. I own one of them and have yet to read it, and that's Bottom of the 33rd by Dan Barry, which is about the longest game in professional baseball history between Pawtucket and Rochester back in 1981. But there are so many good titles in this, and I'm going to have to make it a point, as I'm sure we all will, to try to knock these out. Ben, give us the rundown of these 10 that you recommend.
Yeah, well, this has been a really fun topic to dive into this week. First and foremost, it's kind of the continuation of a larger MILB.com series that up until this book section was handled more by our colleagues, Paige Schechter and Joe Bloss, writing about TV, minor league baseball on TV and movies, both fiction films and documentary. So we've had a lot of great, minor league baseball cultural content on the site, all month long. And then they threw it over to me for books. I've been doing this job for a while, and especially in kind of earlier years, maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago, I was writing a lot of book reviews and doing a kind of semi-recurring column called Ben's Bookshelf. So it was kind of fun to dive back into my old stuff, try to find it, and try to make a list of just 10 minor league baseball books I recommend. So yes, it's a little arbitrary, but I tried to be kind of diverse in the topics covered, because minor league baseball is a very, diverse world in terms of the ways you can write about it and in terms of what you can cover. So there's just a lot of diverse stuff on there, and one of the parameters is, hey, check this out. Maybe you'll find something to read. And I, based on the feedback I've gotten already, I think people are starting to order these books, read these books, get inspired by them, and at the same time they're recommending their own. So I'm working on a story right now about books I left out of the first story, because I picked 10 and there's a lot more than 10, and people got in touch to say, hey, here's some you missed, and some of them were kind of more obvious picks. John Feinstein's Where Nobody Knows Your Name about AAA. A lot of people said that should be included, so I'm writing about that right now. Dirk Hayhurst, The Bullpen Gospels, that kind of thing. You could go on and on. There's been a lot of great minor league baseball books through the years, and you can kind of really tailor them to your own, into the way that you love minor league baseball. There's so many different little nooks and crannies to explore.
Yeah, that kind of brings me to what I was going to ask about this, is that, with all the ones you picked in this first edition, there doesn't really seem to be a theme other than minor league baseball. You got stories about players playing through the Jim Crow South. You got the longest game ever played. You have career minor leaguers. You got a story about Rickwood Field. What do you feel like these lists kind of reveal about the minor leagues when you put together so many different stories from different media like this?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think just maybe the same reason that we, in our own ways, like to write and cover minor league baseball, just that there's so many different directions you can go, and that you can write about, AAA, you can write about rookie level, you can do it from the perspective of one player or a biography of one player, one notable individual. You can do it over the course of one league in one season, one team in one season, one era. There's just so many ways to break it down. And that, to me, is a lot of fun. And I think there's been a lot of, really quality stuff. And through the years, some of it is kind of, as minor league baseball can be, kind of niche, if that's your preferred pronunciation. And I always say niche, but then I feel self-conscious. But, it's fun to go back and, can maybe give a little bit more, a plug to, say, a standalone history of the Seattle Rainiers, of the 30s, 40s, and 50s, or an entire history of the Pacific Coast League, or, the diary of a AAA pitcher in 1990 when he was pitching for the Indianapolis Indians, and so on and so forth. It's just like minor league baseball itself. It's an endless world when it comes to the books that are out there and all the different rabbit holes you can go down.
Ben, do you have a personal favorite, whether it's a minor league book or just a baseball book?
That's a good question. Baseball books, most of them I've read recently in recent years for work, and I've enjoyed them. But I also have kind of had that feeling of, well, I have to write about this later, so maybe I haven't gotten as lost in baseball books, as I did as a kid. That's a good question, because when I was a kid, I discovered I was getting old enough to not just read kids' books, and I love baseball, and I was finding baseball books in the library, and I would just check out everything. And a lot of them were those kind of like as told to autobiographies of just like random guys. I remember reading one about Whitey Herzog, and I just loved it because I'd never read a book like that. I read one like that Larry Boa allegedly wrote. It was called like Bleep, and every time he cursed, there was just bleeps in there. Actually, baseball. And now thinking about it, even that Whitey Herzog book too. That was some of my first experiences with a lot of profanity on the printed page, which was just thrilling to me. So I think those are some of my earliest baseball memories, is getting books out of the library on my own initiative as a kid, and those books having curse words in them.
Well, I guess barring curse words, what would you say, given how vast and different this collection kind of is, what would you say is the formula for the type of minor league book you would enjoy?
Well, I think that comes down to, well, you have to be a good writer to make any book, work, essentially. So obviously, like any book, good writing is a prerequisite. And then beyond that, I think it's passion for the subject. And I think that's where, you can really get behind these books that tell these kind of quirkier tales. When you find someone who has a passion for something that might be a little off the beaten path, but the passion is so great that you can, then feel that passion too, or you might have already had that passion. You're like, wow, this person is also writing about this. This is amazing. So that's kind of one of my favorite things about it, is that it's sort of, and I use this term in my story a couple times, but a labor of love. I think especially with books with a minor league baseball focus, I don't know how many people are really making a lot of money as minor league baseball book authors. I think a lot of it is just something they had to get out because it was something in their lives and their interest and their own reference points that they felt, I'm the best person to be able to tell the story, so I have to do it. I love this and I have to do it. And I think that's kind of a thrilling thing when you feel that passion, in a book you're reading. And then it makes me want to cover it and write about it and give it a plug, so other people can maybe be a part of that, that passionate experience as well.
All right, Ben, we'll end on this one then. Pretend Tyler and I are two book editors, and this is probably a question you've gotten a lot on the road. What would be your minor league baseball book pitch?
Yeah, because if any of us are going to be able to write one, you and Josh would be the two. You've got the huge swath of experience from all the trips and all. But yeah, this is a great question.
Yeah, and it's one that's kind of haunted and vexed me for quite some time. I get that. Probably it's the second most common question I get. Number one is, what's your favorite minor league stadium? Number two is, when's the book coming out? Because when you've been writing about minor league baseball for so long and you've been traveling America through minor league baseball, when's the book coming out? And that's what it's struggling me. Like, my pitch is essentially what I've been doing on the website, is exploring America through minor league baseball, and essentially a rollicking, sprawling travelogue featuring minor league baseball teams as jumping off points to talk about the regions themselves. That's where it comes into play that it's a little difficult. It's a little bit of a struggle, this pitch, because that book in and of itself is more like a bathroom book, in the sense that you don't have to read it in your bathroom, but you can just turn it open to any page and just be like, yeah, coffee table, bathroom, whatever. So what is, in the absence of it being that type of book, what is the narrative through line that kind of ties this world together? That is my struggle. If you work in the publishing world, you're an agent, you're a publisher, you think, hey, Ben Hill would be a great minor league baseball book author, then please get in touch. Help me create a narrative through line that can make this more than just a bathroom book or coffee book. Not that there's anything wrong with those things, but let's elevate this and create a true classic together.
I mean, in all honesty, if anybody listening works in that arena or knows somebody who does, I mean, that is the start of a great pitch. And if you could figure out, like Ben said, to make it into something that wasn't just, a collection, a travelogue, a wide-ranging sort of mass look at the minor leagues and all that type of stuff. If you wanted to make it something different and you have that idea, get in touch with him. You can find him on Twitter @BensBiz. And, of course, you can get in touch other places as well. And on the site, the story on the books is up. The follow-up story of what people submitted in their own loves of minor league baseball writing in book form, that's coming as well. And Benjamin Hill from New York City. Keep an eye on that birthday party. Make sure they have fun.
Yeah, they look like they're having fun. The woman is tying up a balloon with the number 9 on it. And I don't know if another number is going to be added to the 9 to make it something 9, or if it's just a 9-year-old's birthday party. But if you have any questions about how this party develops, hit me up on Twitter. I'll be happy to answer some questions. And beyond that, it might be a P. Now it looks like a P. Maybe it's someone whose name begins with P. See, there's more questions than answers right now. But anyway, guys, it's great talking to you. And you know what? I've actually been listening to this podcast more than I usually do, being at home more, listening to more podcasts. I've been listening to the podcast start to finish more often than not. I've been greatly enjoying you two, not just when I'm on. In fact, I like it the least when I'm on. I turn it down because I don't want to hear my own voice. But I've been enjoying listening to the whole thing front to back. And, thank you for your good work.
Well, thanks, buddy. Great stuff from
Thank you,
as
Ben.
always, too.
Yep, thank you.
We bring in one of the most beloved members of the MILB.com community, even despite his performance behind the plate in Monday's game as a virtual umpire in the matchup between me and Sam on MLB The Show 20. Josh Jackson joins us to account for his performance. What do you have to say for yourself, sir?
Well, so from the first clause of your introduction there, one of the most beloved, I knew that you were just trying to pacify me and keep me from ejecting you straight out right here, right now. So, first of all, watch it, mister. Secondly, no, I mean, I'll say this. I watched that game. I don't think, those stories, like MLB.com had the video of like Amir Garrett being like, come on, I'm striking out 14 per 9 or whatever. When he looked at like his rating on the show. Right. For me, I look at that umpire and I'm like, yeah, that's not realistic at all. I'm calling anything at all close to the zone, especially in a video game, because I want you swinging up there. I want you and I don't want you just like swinging at one pitch trying to hit a home run. I want you like, let's poke a little double down the line. Let's bloop a ball over second base and get on. I want you to I want you up there swinging, and if you're pitching, I want you just like hurling it in as hard as you can and not trying to be too fine and precise.
Well, the good news is I went musing on this on Twitter a few weeks ago when I was playing the show after I first got it. And Josh, you and I especially, Sam is, I think Sam just turned like 19 last week. But for those of us who grew up in the era that you and I did, I have no plate discipline when it comes to video games. And so I feel like I would be a very fitting hitter in a world in which you were actually calling a game like that, because I swing at everything. And then I tweeted out and said, like, if you're a younger kid, if you're somebody who's like 18 or 19 right now, do you have better plate discipline as a video game player because games are so much more advanced growing up? Like, for those of us who grew up playing, Major League Baseball presents Ken Griffey Jr. Baseball on Super Nintendo, or World Series Baseball on Sega, or the original MVP games, like, I swung at everything all the time, and I still do that. So I would fit very well with that, is what I'm saying.
And that's kind of how I played, like, in any sort of informal game, too. I was,
you swung at everything all the time?
Yes. We were not looking to walk it. But then, of course, I think, during actual games, I was probably the exact opposite. Like, I was, probably a little gun shy up there in the box, but if it was like, any situation where there was no uniform, I was swinging at anything. I was like taking a step toward the plate and full extension on both arms to swing. I don't know. I just feel like that's the most fun version of baseball that can be played, is one where if a hitter could possibly hit a ball, he tries to hit it.
Getaway day hacks, that kind of swinging. The best thing about this conversation...
All right, thanks for having me on, everybody.
I was just going to say, the best thing about this conversation is it has nothing to do with what we actually brought Josh on to talk about today, which is a fantastic story that is up on the site as of this morning, the 29th of April. You can go find it, in which Josh takes a look back at the Fort Worth Cats, who were members for a long time of the Texas League, a team that came along later in Fort Worth's baseball history after a team that dominated the 1920s called the Fort Worth Panthers. And one of my favorite notes in this article, the Panthers supposedly got their name, according to Josh's story, quote, because a 19th century Dallas newspaperman made a joke that Fort Worth was such a sleepy town he'd seen a panther snoozing in front of the courthouse. The Fort Worth Cats came along in 1932, and this is a team that maybe not a ton of people have heard of, but a crazy, illustrious story with a ton of names throughout.
Yeah, it really is. It's kind of what drew my attention to this franchise, just that it was there for so long. Really, from 1932 until 1964. Yeah, 64 was sort of their last hurrah in the Texas League there. Truthfully, so, with a lot of franchises, names were sort of fluid in the early days of the 20th century. So it's not like there was like, I I don't think this was a deal where like Brandeis came in and said, "Hey, Panthers, you're going to be called Cats from now on." It's like in the newspapers, you're referred to as this, you're referred to as that, and sometimes the name sticks. So 32 is the first year where they're really playing as the Cats. But even before that, we have to acknowledge that they won like 6 straight Texas League titles from 1920 to 25, and were just the most, as the Panthers, of course, the most dominant team of that era, definitely in the Texas League. And I think you could make a case that they were among the most dominant teams in a minor league in America during the first half of the 20s, at least. And then by the time they got into the 30s, they became officially known as the Cats, and that name sort of solidified. And at that time, they did start or continue really to sort of rack up big names as members, either as players or as managers. There's Homer Peel is a name that I think probably people who are real into minor league history will recognize, but he was a player manager in their 37 team that won the Texas League championship, and he hit 370 that year. That team also featured Joe Greenberg, the brother of Tigers great named Hank Greenberg, who some folks have probably heard of. But Peel was really sort of the commanding force for those like late 30s teams. And, by the time not too long from there, we're talking about an affiliation with the Brooklyn Dodgers that kind of takes in and gives them a lot of the guys that, not a lot, but give them a percentage of the guys who become known as the Boys of Summer, including like Duke Snider right after World War II, where I didn't even realize this, but he served maybe a submarine. I think he went to Guam even. So the year after the war, in 46, the Fort Worth Cats become a Brooklyn Dodgers affiliate. They get him. They get Carl Erskine. They get Bobby Bragan. So it does start to become a franchise that, with that affiliation, we start to see a lot of names that are like, direct ties to the big leagues.
Yeah, and one of my favorite things about these stories, especially when you do them, is how it really tells an entire tale of the minor leagues. It starts with the Texas League when it wasn't affiliated with anybody. Then you mentioned the affiliation with Brooklyn, and by the end, when the Fort Worth Cats are no more, they were in the American Association. How does this specific team kind of tell that story of what minor league baseball was at the beginning of the 1900s up until the middle of that time when the Cats were no more?
Yeah, I mean that's a really good point. They do sort of through the evolution of what the Cats are, you can kind of see the way that minor league baseball has been or was in America and the way it evolved. When they sort of started to break apart, there was there were some mergers there where they played as a Dallas-Fort Worth team, like a Scranton Wilkes-Barre situation, but obviously with bigger towns there. And that was after, a Cubs affiliation. So you do see them being sort of this radically unaffiliated powerhouse in the earliest days of well, not the earliest, but through the 1920s and really until after World War II, have that kind of independence from Major League Baseball that a lot of leagues did, and then they start to they become affiliated with the Dodgers, and that becomes a thing where it's not, the affiliations then weren't the same as they were today. they weren't run the same exact way, so things were like a little looser. And then by the time they phase out, yes, they've been in with the Cubs, and then they just sort of fizzle out there in the early 60s.
Another thing that I really love too is you point out some things that would just never happen in the minor leagues today, and it illustrates the difference in what minor league ball and really just the sport was like at that time. That was so different. But the 1937 playoffs in the best-of-7 championship series, the clinching game went 12 innings, and Ed Selway, who was a midseason acquisition that year for Fort Worth, pitched all 12 and only gave up 4 hits in a 2-1 win. And then in 1939, you talk about pitcher Ed Greer, who in 1937 won 18 games at 36 years old for a minor league team. And then 2 years later for the 1939 team, when they also won the Texas League title, he won 22 games at 38 and put up a 2.28 ERA. Guys like that aren't even getting a look anymore. That's how different the game was back then, and how different these teams operated somewhat autonomously, especially, like you're discussing, before those formal affiliations came in.
Yeah, absolutely. And that Selway, I was thinking about even his sort of that relationship that he must have had with his teammates. He comes in pretty late in the season, and then becomes kind of the guy for them over that season. Pitching 12 innings. And then getting a 2-1 win out of it. And then 2 more shutouts against the Southern Association in the Dixie series. It's like those nobody is doing that, sort of regardless of what level they're at or what age they are now. But certainly, reveals a different time, and obviously the same that can be said for Greer there being. Some of us sort of grimace a little bit when we see somebody doing anything athletic at age above, say, age 37. But but definitely impressive and definitely a factor of the era that he's playing in.
Rogers Hornsby factors into this story as well. He became the manager of that team, signed up in 1942 to return to the Cats, this time as skipper. Was going to go back in 1943. World War II forced the shuttering of that league until 1946, when, as Josh mentioned a little while ago, Duke Snider came on. It's a really, really interesting story about the Fort Worth Cats, and it is up on the site right now. And also, by the way, if you're into the history of the Fort Worth Cats, they are a member of Minor League Baseball's Hometown Collection at MILBstore.com. You can find some cool Throwback Cats merchandise also, which is linked to in the story. But just another great historical piece from Josh, as they all are, and get to work on the strike zone stuff. And you're not, next time Sam and I play, you're not at the plate. We'll rotate people around, obviously, but just clean it up is all I'm saying.
Look, you've got to let me in there into the I don't know, Sony mainframe to monkey with my settings there to get it right. I'll close by saying that Rogers Hornsby and I have a shared affinity for ice cream.
I like that.
Something that some people might not know. Probably know about me, probably don't know about Rogers Hornsby. Huge ice cream guy.
Thanks, Josh.
Thank you, guys.
Final segment of this week's episode of the show before we head out of here. Sam's got this week's edition of our Nationwide Prospect Fun Fact.
Yeah, so when I was thinking about what we could be doing this week for the Nationwide Prospect Fun Fact, we are coming to you as the calendar turns from April to May. So let's look back last year at what April was in minor league baseball. We got no baseball in April on these shores anyways this April. Let's look back at what happened last year just to think about where we could have been in the minor league baseball schedule. So I look back at the leaderboards through April in minor league baseball and saw numerous prospects that went on to have great years, obviously. So they were just setting the table for what were great seasons in 2019. Luis Robert Started the year at Class A Advanced Winston-Salem. We brought him up a few times. He actually featured in our game. He was on Tyler's team. He led all of minor league baseball in average slugging percentage and OPS for Winston-Salem last year. He hit .453 in the month of April. He slugged .920, and he had an OPS of 1.432.
Pretty good.
So much of what we talked about last year was offensive jumps at the AAA level. And when you look back at the leaderboards for the full season, it usually was guys at AAA who led in slugging percentage, home runs, OPS, all that kind of stuff. For Robert to get off to this type of start and to be at high A away from the AAA ball was phenomenal. Another fun fact about this is that he actually was promoted right after April and started May at AA Birmingham. The White Sox had seen enough. Can't blame him. Hitting .453. It's time for a new challenge, so he got that. At the top of the home run leaderboard at the time, at the end of April in 2019, Yordan Alvarez, then playing for Round Rock Express, had 12 home runs. He was tied with Sam Huff in the Texas Rangers organization. Both of them had 12. Sam Huff was playing at Class A Hickory at the time. Yordan Alvarez playing at AAA Round Rock. Yordan Alvarez obviously going on to win the American League Rookie of the Year. Pretty good year from him. Started out at AAA with those 12 home runs. And then on the pitching side, Casey Mize, we talked about a lot last year, how he had a great season. That started out at Class A Advanced Lakeland in his first full season after he was the first overall pick in 2018. He was actually third in all minor league pitchers with a 0.35 ERA, but he was first in both WHIP and average against. He had a 0.31 WHIP and a .085 average against for Lakeland. As the season went along, he was eventually promoted to AA Erie through a no-hitter in his AA Erie debut. Developed some shoulder issues as the season went along, kind of fell off there a little bit, but still one of the best pitching prospects in the game, and we saw it very quickly in the Tiger system last year. So kind of fun to look back at what we could have had here in April. I would love to be talking about who got off to hot starts here and what that meant for the rest of their 2020 seasons. We're not going to get that, but fun to remember what was a fun April at the time, and hopefully we get more baseball and can talk about a hot first month, whether that's July, August, what have you, soon enough.
And that is going to put the finishing touch on this week's episode of the show before the show. Thanks, everybody who tuned in to our broadcast of the game earlier this week. And you can find all the stories that we talked about today, of course, on the site at MILB.com. And for Sam Dykstra, I'm Tyler Mon. We'll talk to you next week.